Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light, shines the lands in all directions without obstruction. This is a true fact. To prove this, let me give you an example that the Buddha emanated light and received a man whose life was about to end, so that the suffering sentient beings in this evil time of 5 turbidita with heavy karmic hindrance become deeply convinced and recite the Buddha's name to seek birth in the Western bliss world. In 1963, layman Aming Lee, 48, lived in Wufeng Township together with his elderly mother and his wife, a family of 5 men and 4 women in total. His Dharma name is Wide Safe, a group leader of Chanting Buddha at Wufeng Church of the Lotus Society in Taichung, and he is an extremely devout and dedicated disciple of the Triple Jewels. For more than 10 years, every Wednesday when the Honorable Teacher Bingen Li gave a sermon, he rode a bicycle there to listen to the sermon without any hindrance, no matter whether it was windy or rainy. Evidently, his enthusiasm for seeking the Dharma is admirable. People all call him Brother Aming. However, human life is unpredictable and all matters are impermanent. Brother Aming suddenly contracted an incurable disease and knew that he was terminally ill. A month before his departure, he told his wife to look after the mother and educate their children. After dealing with everything, he retreated to his sister's house in the northern gully to recover from the illness. Brother Aming's sister and 2 nieces, Jen and Feng, are faithful followers in the church. Therefore, they treated their uncle with the same respect as they treated their mother and looked after him meticulously. In addition to the morning and evening lessons, they recited the Buddha with all their heart every day and redirected the merits to their maternal uncle to eliminate his past sins. The reason why Aming wanted to retreat to his sister's home to recuperate from his illness was that he could let go of all the affinity with his family and concentrate on chanting Buddha to seek birth in the West. He was afraid that he would lose his righteous mind and not be able to be reborn in the West because his mother, wife, and children might be crying and wailing in a moment when he was fading away at home. That's why he went to the mountain to rely on his 2 eminent nieces. However, the end of life is like a battlefield. If the caretaker is not careful, the patient could be pulled away by the devil. 4 days before his rebirth, Aming's illness worsened. He became dazed, and his hands and feet swung unconsciously. When Jen saw that the situation was not right, she chanted the holy name of Amitabha Buddha in front of his bed and told her uncle, "If Amitabha comes to guide you, only then can you go with him. You can't go with anybody except Amitabha." After they chanted the Buddha's hymn for 2 hours, Aming became conscious and was no longer in a coma. The next day, his mother, who was 80 years old, came up the mountain in a sedan chair. At first, she persuaded Aming to go home by sedan with good words, but Aming refused to go home. His mother then used the method with a cry and scream, and he still refused to go home. Then she swore to force him. "Mom, you take sedan back home by yourself. I will be cured in 3 days, no need to take a sedan, and I will go home by myself," said Aming. His mother had no choice but to go home herself. From this point, it seemed that the devil had sent his mother to force him to go home. Aming's righteous thoughts were clear, so to say that he has defeated the devil and could foresee the time. That morning, Director Layman Wang and Layman Zhao came up to the mountain from Taichung to visit the sick and comfort him in every way. Back then, they were delighted and talked for an hour. Later, he walked outside to see them off. At noon, she said to her old sister, "Why is it so dark, just like it's going to rain?" Jen and her mother and sister began to chant the holy name of Amitabha at the bedside. After chanting for over 2 hours, Jen asked, "Uncle, is it still dark?" Aming replied, "Now it is no longer dark but just bright." Jen understood that the Buddha's power was inconceivable, and she continued to help the recitations without interruption. Also, all the Lotus friends of the church rushed there and joined in to help with the chanting. At 3:30 p.m., a bright beam suddenly shone down, filling the room with brilliant golden light in a flash. At this moment, Jen shouted, "Uncle, Amitabha Buddha is coming to receive you, follow him quick." After taking a deep breath, Aiming was guided by Buddha's light and passed away peacefully. From then on, the suffering sea of Saha reduces one vexed sentient being, and the jewel pool of the bliss world increases one pure practitioner. I was told the above facts on Tuesday, the day of the schedule at the church when Jen and Feng came to listen to the sermon. It is true that you don't need to cultivate blessings and wisdom for 3 eons, but only by chanting these words, you may get out of this world. I would like to advise all readers to recite to their hearts, Namo Amitabha Buddha,